Welcome back, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast presented by Coop Striping and Paint. And I probably said that wrong, but whatever. New sponsor. Love those guys. And the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group. Thank you guys again for joining us for another episode, a new week. Got my co-hosts, my guy, DG, David Glidden. David, what's going on, man? How are you?
Drew, what's up, man? I'm good. I'm recovering. I had the heart was cathutting last night, obviously with the thunder going on, but I know we're going to bounce back game 2 and excited to get this episode rolling here tonight.
We got a fresh new background for everybody.
Yeah, I'll say the new setup is strong. It's almost as strong as the guy we got in the middle of the screen here, Dan Hammerschmidt. Man, a legendary football coach for a long time, not to mention how freaking just an absolute stallion as a player back in the day. Colorado State.
A long time ago, Little.
But Coach Hammerschmidt, man, we welcome you to the show, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys.
For joining us.
Drew. Thanks, Glid. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. This is cool, man. A guy like yourself to come on here, man. It's crazy to me because when I asked, Drew, I don't even know if I told you this. Me and Hammer got to play golf recently, and we played golf.
Galardia, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at Galardia. It was a great track, man. Great
Lost
track.
my money again. Same deal.
That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. This guy can swing them. Hammer's just plays that smooth little baby fade. He's got a good golf game, man. But for me, it's really cool to have a guy like Coach Hammer on because he was actually, we had Coach Dunn on a few weeks ago. My position coach. Hammer knows KD really, really well too. They coached together obviously for a long time at Oklahoma State. But for Coach Hammer, he came in my last year as a player at Oklahoma State. And it's crazy because when I asked him about that, I thought we were there at least 2, if not 3 seasons together. But to me, that's just an impressive. It shows the impressive amount of impact you had on guys, and especially when I wasn't even around you, Hammer, like essentially on the other side of the ball. We went against each other every day and those type of things, man. So again, appreciate you being on. It's a credit to you for the relationship you kept with other players, not just myself. I know guys that I played with back in the day, man, they raved about you and just their time and the things they learned from you and the composure that you bring to the game, because that's kind of your demeanor in general. So, man, let's get right into it and just tell us, you've had a long stint as a career, NFL time, college time. Where did it all start for you? And if you want to start back as a player, man, have at it. Give it, because we know you were an absolute stud back in the day too. So where's it start?
I appreciate all the kudos, Glitto. That was good. I just know I learned about you because when I was at the Texans, I told you we were checking out the fullback. That I was working running backs, and we checked out the fullback. What the heck was his name? You told me.
Man, who did we talk about? Was it Seaton?
Yeah.
Kai Staley.
Kai Staley. And we were gonna draft him, and then he coming off an injury, and he went back and decided to go back, but. And then we, of course, kept our eye on Oklahoma State, and I saw this dude catching all the third down passes, never drops one. And I said, man, that's unbelievable. So I finally met you, and you took my money in golf. It's a great deal.
That's crazy you say it, because that is not true at all.
I got to learn how not to slice the damn ball. Got to learn how not to slice the damn ball. Yeah, we can start. I'm from San Diego, California originally. I know I don't sound like it now because I've been coaching in the South so long. But came out of Helix High School, went to Colorado State and played for when Sonny Lubick was there. And Leon Fuller, the old head coach, the old D coordinator at Texas back in Darrell Royal days. He was our head coach. And then my first coaching job was TCU as a GA for the late great Jim Wacker. That was a good year. And then I went with my Rick Johnson, my position coach in college, was a D coordinator at TCU. So we went to Duke, and my first full-time gig was outside linebackers for Coach Spurrier at Duke in 1988.
That's awesome.
Look at that.
I love, and I'll tell you this, being an offensive guy for so many years in high school, Steve Spurrier is one of my favorite coaches. And one of our first episodes together, me and David, I speak very highly of Coach. I got to meet Coach a couple of times and love his stuff. Always studied his offenses and stuff like that. So that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, Drew, he's just like you said, he's unbelievable. He's he's one of those guys. There's something great about. I mean, I've been lucky in my whole life. I've never worked for a bad head coach. I mean, really, no jerks, no guys that didn't care about your family, none of that stuff. I've worked for, I think, 12 unbelievable head coaches, but Spurrier has his own way, and he's just one of those guys. Heisman Trophy winner. So just everything comes out of his mouth, the coaches and the players. I mean, you believe it. It's one of those but I remember him coaching for Verts, Glids. He was coaching, I think his first day I saw him coach. I was on the defensive side back then, coaching DBs and linebackers, but I remember him coaching Verts, and he was coaching the quarterbacks, the drop, stick his foot in the ground on 5, and you want to hit that ball. I remember, hit that ball 22-2, 22-2, 22 yards down the field and 2 yards outside the hash. Exactly.
Yep.
Sat there for an hour after practice, those guys, and I'd be like, damn. I mean, everybody else was in, taking showers, and coaches drinking beer, whatever. And he was sitting out there with those QBs, 22-2, 22-2. And it was they just
awesome.
rolled people.
Yeah.
It was
Man,
awesome.
the level of your voice when you
He sounds like it
it's
too,
amazing.
doesn't it?
It's amazing. You sound like him.
I was close to
Right there.
Yeah. I was like when I was standing behind him when I was putting one time. He's a big time golfer, and I was just still shooting 100 back then. And I stood behind him when he was putting, and he looked up at me. He said, "Hammer, get the hell out of the way. You don't
That's
stand
it. That is a great Coach Spurrier right there. Man.
That's amazing.
We won the ACC championship in 1989. I don't know if Duke's done that again. They may have one time, but he was good. He was a great head coach. It was fun. I was there for like 6 or 7 years. Barry Wilson became the new head coach, and when Spurrier went to Florida, we kind of half of us stayed, got raises, half of us went. He took care of everybody. It was a really good situation. But Duke was a great stop, and then finally we like all the time in coaching. Finally, you're done. We get fired. I went to VMI of all places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Virginia Military Institute.
Yeah.
Craziest deal ever. I mean, I just remember taking the job, and I had just newly married. I just got married, 8 months before that. And we were driving down at night to go. I told my wife, so we just took a job at Virginia Military Institute. And she says, where's that? She was from Houston. And I said, well, it's up in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's really beautiful and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, that sounds good. We packed up the U-Haul. We rolled into VMI at night. I don't know if you guys – have you been to VMI at all ever?
No.
I've been around that area, but never actually to the campus. Yeah. But I spent some time in South Carolina, North Carolina a little bit. But Virginia
it looks like a prison. I hate to say it, because they got bars. They got bars on the windows and stuff. It's a beautiful place around at the Blue Ridge Mountain. And Lexington's amazing. But the place, so we drive in there at night and the lights are barely on, and she looks up, she starts crying. Uh-oh.
What have you got us into?
Yeah, we're in trouble. I thought I married a big-time football coach. So anyway, we rolled in there, but we had a great, crazy thing. I got in, met the staff. On that staff was Dan Quinn. He was our D-line coach.
Wow, that's
Mike
awesome.
Tomlin.
I did not know that, Hammer.
Mike Tomlin was our receiver coach.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. And the late, great Bill Stewart, remember, from West Virginia?
Yeah, I know the name for sure, yeah.
He had a heart attack and passed away on a golf course a few years ago, but he was at West Virginia.
Yeah,
he's a famous coach, but he was our head coach. Bill was our head coach. And
wow.
Yeah, it was awesome being with those guys. So
Man,
2 years
that's
up
crazy.
here, yeah, I learned a ton. I remember we used to jog. Stu, our head coach, was awesome, but you down in Lexington, right next to there's big cliffs and a river. So we'd go jogging every day. He'd make sure that the whole staff jogged together. So everybody had to jog.
Really?
Yeah. So we jogged to campus, and then we jogged down that river. And Stu, every person you passed, Stu made you wave to him. So the whole staff, we're going down. We're on a 3-mile run, and we're waving at everybody that goes by. And that Stu said, "You boys are waving." I said, "Yes, sir. Here we go."
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's cool. What a connection! I did not know that. In the fact of Dan Quinn, Mike Tomlin, man, and man, it's funny because Mike Tomlin, I know he spent time at the University in Memphis too. So I've heard of that and the time I spent there and everything, and then. I personally, man, yeah, I cannot believe I did not know that about you. You had a connection to Dan Quinn like that because he was. So what was he coaching? So, and I'll say that because he was the head coach in Atlanta for the few months, the little cup of coffee I had there.
Yeah.
And just to be around him and his leadership and the direction that was, he was there the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost the whole comeback thing to New England. But what was he coaching there? And like, were you like same side of the ball the whole time?
Yeah, Quinny's awesome. Yeah, we were on the same side. He was D line, D tackles.
Okay.
And he was great. I was DBs back then, and we were pretty good on defense. Tom Throckmorton, the old guy, he was a scout at he'd been famous old defensive coordinator, but he was a DC. I can't remember. There were a couple other guys. I don't know if you know Billy Legg, if you heard of him, but he was the offensive coordinator at West Virginia and Marshall forever.
Wow.
And Billy's up at Minnesota now, but Billy and I took the job at the same time. Matter of fact, the same day. So we've stayed in touch for a long time. Great guy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
man,
it was a
hell
good
of a
staff.
staff. What a
Alan
staff.
Williams.
BMI, man.
Going from Coach Spurrier to those guys too. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better, man. That's awesome.
What's beautiful about coaching, and Glitto knows this, but he hasn't been in it long enough yet. To everywhere you go, you're on the staff with famous guys. You're on the staff with 2 or 3 guys that that everybody sooner or later are going to know, or they already know. I mean, every staff is loaded with great people for the most part. Yeah, that's a good thing about coaching. Great guys.
That's true.
But the next thing is, I mean, you don't know when your next. I'm Alan Williams. I mean, when we were at VMI, Mike Tomlin and I go down. We had to get another coach, so we go down to Virginia Beach recruiting, and we hear about this guy named Alan Williams. So we slide over to, I don't know if it was, can't remember what high school, and he's like a D coordinator or something over at this high school. Mike kind of knows Alan. So I got to meet him. We went to Stu and said, man, we got to hire this guy. We got to hire Alan Williams for this job. We hire him. And of course he'd been D coordinator. He'd been a D coordinator in the NFL for a long time.
That's probably him right now.
He's calling you,
yeah,
man.
he's probably calling you. Like, hey,
Could be. Yeah.
It's either that or that's Dan Quinn or Mike Tomlin.
or
one
Mike
of those guys
Tomlin
calling.
or
Yeah, that's
Spurrier
right.
wanting to go play
Yeah,
golf.
they're like, what the hell are you doing talking about me, you son of a bitch? That's right.
Yeah.
That story's not true. Yeah, it was fun. We played golf there, Glitto. Quinn's a good. He loves golf. Quinn would go play golf anytime he wants.
Man, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Now, head coach of the what are they, Washington football team now? What are they, the Commander?
Commanders.
Yeah, he let us come. When Mason came over to our place a few years ago at Oklahoma State, when everybody was trying to figure out the match coverage stuff, we rolled down. Quinn had us down there for a week or so down in their camp and coaching us up and helping us out with all that match coverage stuff. Yeah, he was really good when he was at the Cowboys helping us out. So
yeah, and he's correct me if I'm wrong here, Legion of Boom, right, in Seattle?
Yes, yeah.
He's part of that crew, right? If not the DC.
Oh, yeah.
He's coached some hell of a defensive guy, some defensive players over the years.
Oh yeah, he's
man.
a good DC. Yeah, he's
man.
He's a stud, great guy.
Hammer.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Matter of fact, he and we rented a house in Lexington, and Quinny was just came in from, I can't remember, Ivy League school, and he and Stacy rented the top room in right on top of our house there, top bedroom. Great folks.
That's awesome.
Man, that's awesome. So VMI, and then give me the next couple stops after that, and then how long until you landed in Houston and that whole track?
Long time, but I went back to my alma mater in right after the 95 season with Sonny Lubick, who was my position coach in college. He coached me. I was a quarterback for a little bit, and then they said, you suck, go to defense. So, so I ended up being a defensive back, and Kelly Stauffer was our quarterback. He was good. But I went back to work for Sonny Lubick, and then we had a great run there. I was there till 2007, 12 years, and we won, I think, 4 or 5 Mountain West championships, and Sonny was maybe the greatest coach I ever worked for.
So you actually at Colorado State, you flipped and went to offense, correct?
Went to offense. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Drew, good thing, because I hadn't coached offense, although I played it. So the guy that recruited me was Dave Lay, a friend of my dad's, they coached together at San Diego State. All this stuff goes together, as Glids knows. You got to know somebody. So he recruited me out of high school. Well, he was the offensive coordinator there at that time. So I called him up and said, Dave, I know you got a receiver job. I just, love to get back to the alma mater. He said, all right, let's go. So I flipped over to coach wideouts. First day I was coaching wideouts, Glitto, after being a DB coach, I went bull in the ring with the boys.
I love that. That's awesome.
I was like, we're going to get tough. And I remember Jeremy Calhoun from Long Beach Poly. I had a bunch of guys from LA, and they're like, they had nothing to do with it. They're like, oh, coach, man, what's up with this? Hey, we got to get toughened up. Now we got to catch touchdown passes. All right, here we go.
So, we're going to find out who's tough first.
Yeah, we had some tough guys. Obviously, we won a bunch of games, so it was
trim the fat right off the bat, right?
What's that?
No doubt.
I say you trim the fat right off the bat, right?
Yeah,
that's it.
Find out who can block, because we're going to run the ball. Back in those days, we're running the ball, So
it's true.
That's true. Play action pass, baby. It's coming. It's coming back.
That's true, man. That's true. Back in the day, too, right? There was like a given: no block, no rock. Like that's understood if you're playing the wideout position.
Exactly. Being on the defensive side, that's how I coached it. Just like Casey coaches it, same deal. Just like all of it, CSU, Oklahoma State was very similar, obviously at different levels. But so I was there for, we had a bunch of great years till 2007. Then Sonny was, whatever. Joe Paterno kind of forced to retire or something. But he was, anyway, the winningest coach. His name's on the stadium. That was a great 12 years. Obviously met a ton of great coaches that are up in the NFL and different places. Then from there is when I started bouncing. Then it started going 1, 2, 1, 2. So I went from there. I'm trying to think. I went to Rice University with David Bailiff, who was a great head coach. I think he's the winningest coach in Rice history, actually.
Wow.
And Bailiff was great, and that's where I still coaching receivers, but I went. That's where I met Tom Herman. Tom was the OC, and they had all just come from Texas State, and I was the new guy. But Tom and I hit it off. He was great. I think we were number 3. That was we won the conference championship. Went and played. I think we were 10-3 or 11-2, something like that. And Rice had never been. They get 2,000 people in the stands for their games. But at that point, they gotten better. But so I don't know. We had a great team. We had James Casey. Who was a player of the year, and of course that league, Lids.
Oh yeah.
James Casey was player of the year. I mean, he was all around guy. Was tight end. He's still coaching the NFL. The quarterback from San Antonio was a great player. Anyway, I think we were number 3 in the country in offense.
Wow.
Yeah, Herman did a great job.
And clearly his trajectory after that, right, was just
took off. Yep.
Yeah, he went. Well, that's how I took my next job. He goes. Right after that big year, right after the bowl game, we beat Western Michigan, I think, down in that Houston Bowl, and then Herman calls Wyoming, takes the job at Wyoming, and he lets me, because Wyoming's right here, 40 miles away from Fort Collins, where I am. And that's CSU. And so he says, Hammer, you want to go with me as receiver coach to Wyoming? And, I said, I know more about Wyoming than I do Rice. So I said, sure, I'll jump in. And so I take the job. I talked to Dave Christensen, who's the head coach at Wyoming, and I take the job. And so we're both getting ready to go up there right after the bowl game. And Herman jumps ship and takes the OC job at Iowa State. With it, he jumps on me. So then I was like, uh-oh, I wonder, because Bailiff's now he's a little pissed off. So anyway, I called Christensen. Christensen said, "Come on, it doesn't matter if Tom comes. We'll get another coach. We'll get another OC. Matter of fact, I got a guy right now, and he'll meet you up here when you get here." And I get there, and Marcus Arroyo gets hired as the OC.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Damn. I did not know that, man.
Isn't it a small world?
The coaching world is so crazy.
It's a small world.
That is nuts. No, I did not know that.
So Marcus is up there. I meet oh yeah, you know who I became best buddies with? Ray.
Really?
Jason Ray.
Yeah,
I was
man.
like, Jason Ray was coaching our running backs. And so but it was fun. I met a bunch of great coaches again there.
That's
Alex
awesome.
Grinch was there.
Yeah.
He was a DB coach.
Wow.
And we had a hell of a staff. We ended up going to the Fresno Bowl and having a great year there. And then we beat this was crazy. I don't know how I went to Wyoming because it's the rival of Colorado State. It's the border. It's the border war. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, dang it. Oh, whatever. Okay, here we go. So we went down to Colorado State and we beat them on their home field that year. And so Marcus and I dove on each other on the 50-yard line and we were celebrating. And then I'm sure the fans didn't like that, but but then Fairchild, the head coach at Colorado State, calls me as we're driving home, and asked if I wanted to come down there and be the pass game coordinator down back at Colorado State. So I jumped ship in Wyoming, go back to my alma mater again. And
so this is what, stint 3? Is this stint 2 or 3?
Second stint. Yeah, it's stint 2.
Okay.
But it wasn't very long. Like I was only at Rice for a year, Wyoming for a year, and then we went 2 years at Colorado State, and then Steve got fired. So I said, I don't know if anybody else in America has been fired from an alma mater twice in 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't know. But it was that was a tough one. But
yeah.
After that, that's when I went to the Texans. I got a good break. My buddy that I played ball at Colorado State with, who's the O-line coach at Seahawks now, they just won his first Super Bowl ring. John Benton was Kubiak's O-line coach at the Texans. So that's when he called up, said, hey, we got a spot, running back, assistant running back. So I jumped on that, went down to Houston. Best move ever for my kids. It was, we went to Texas. My daughter got into a nice religious group of gals. She got on the dance team at Dulles High School, and she got this new group. She wasn't doing quite as good up here in Colorado. She went down to Texas and got this great group of nice religious friends, and the dance instructor was amazing. She saved my daughter's life. I mean, she got her going rock and roll. Now she's an amazing gal and married to an engineer from Oklahoma State working for Nike, as a matter of fact. So
wow.
She found a great guy from West Texas. Matter of fact, they had 7 kids, I believe. All 7 of them went to Oklahoma State.
Wow.
Yep.
We'll talk about a waste of money, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
We need to check their education now. That's what we got to do.
Hey, whatever,
Well, hey, the collegiate education is a little bit better in the state of Oklahoma than the secondary education. So
that's true.
It's probably not 50th in the country, So.
That's true. That's true. That's true. All right. So hold on. So then, man, first off, what a blessing what the coaching world can do, not just for you, but your family. I would say more times than not, you hear that your families get the negative end of the deal, right? And to hear that story right there about your daughter, that's so cool. I didn't know that, man. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
And so to hear that her life probably transcended in such a positive direction off of that, that's cool to hear that, because again, so much of what your families go through and the moving as kids are growing up, and however many high schools and schools and blah, 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 and wives getting tired of moving, all that. So to hear that, yes, the good Lord can put you through things and put you in places to lead you to other people to truly change your life is really cool. So to hear you say that, man, I did not know that about your story and your daughter. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely a great move. Yeah. So you're, like you said, things fall into place sometimes. And just, I can't thank that dance team coach enough. She was awesome.
Shout out to her, whatever her name is, and wherever she's at now.
That's right.
Change Coach Hammerschmidt's daughter's life, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah. She's still there. She's probably been there 60 years, I bet.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you. You spent a lot of time in the collegiate ranks as a coach, and then going to the Houston Texans. Talk about the biggest differences of being a college coach and then into the NFL? I know it's a more business-like approach, everything like that. Well, what was the biggest change for you, other than obviously recruiting and stuff like that? But what was the biggest change from going from, your time as a college coach to being in an NFL organization?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, a lot of difference when you go there. First of all, the season's so long. That's everybody, when you make the playoffs like we did in 2012, and we were really good. I think we lost to the Patriots in the semis or something. But you're going from July to January, and hopefully February. But it's Coobs like to get into the office and work out at 5:30 in the morning because he's a farmer, and he lived kind of close to the, we all lived in the suburbs out around Houston, so your drive's an hour and a half in traffic. So it's you're getting up. So everybody wanted to beat the head coach there, which you got to in the NFL anytime usually. And so I'm heading to work at 4:30 every day, and then you know how we are as coaches. You're not going to stay. The only one that left at like 6 or 7 o'clock was Wade Phillips. I remember Wade had he showed his badge, and he'd been coaching long enough. He's like, I'm not staying with you jokers. I'm going home. But the rest of us, we stayed till 11 and midnight and whatever, getting ready for the meetings. So and then you add that to the many months, longer in college. So it's a grind. By the time when you hit November, man, I just remember, there's no time for the kids, none of that stuff. You're just locked in. You're trying to stay awake. That was a new thing. The recruiting part of it, obviously, the only time you recruit is during free agency. So, in college, as Glids will tell you, you're always recruiting. You're recruiting 7 days a week, all year long. You can always make a call to somebody. A high school coach, a kid, especially now with the portal and all this kind of stuff, you're constantly recruiting. You might be sitting at home eating dinner, and boom, you get a call from Johnny. You got to take it. So it's the recruiting part's a whole different ball game. You get to lock in on football, and you get to be like a football junkie, which we kind of like. You do the recruiting part, it's you get to know people, you get to meet great families, great kids, and obviously you got to get good players. So you do the recruiting part, but the only time you do the recruiting part in the NFL is free agency for, a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. So, and it's the same kind of thing, not as many calls, but you got to sell, you got to do the whole deal, and you got to get yourself a couple of good free agents. So that part is probably, the thing that woke me up the most about it being a business is I was I did the running backs. So we had a great running back room with Arian Foster. God dang it. Justin Forsett was the third guy we had just traded, and Ben Tate. So, the Auburn guy, we had great running backs. And then, so all of a sudden we had just picked up Forsett, and I got to know him pretty good. And we had at Christmas time, we're still going to playoffs and all that. And we have a gift exchange. So we do a gift exchange, and I pick Forsett. And so I get him this cool gift. He's a real religious kid. I can't remember what it was, but I halfway can draw and stuff. So I drew him a deal and got him whatever. It was something about his first touchdown, or I don't know. Can't remember, but he really loved it. And it was a cool deal. Our gift exchange was awesome that day, and it was fun. And then all of a sudden the next day I woke up and came to the office, and they said Forsett's been traded to the Jaguars. I never saw him again. I texted him. I said, "Hey, good luck." And it's like you get to know guys a little bit, and bam, they're gone.
Yeah,
man,
that's crazy.
I know.
Business first.
So you don't tie into, like, in college we go to, Gundy's house or do things at every coach's houses. You really none of that
the
stuff.
big recruiting weekends and building relationships with those guys. Yeah. It's more of a, hey, they're getting paid more than you are, and they're it's the athletes, and it's their job. So
and they want to know, realistically, they want to know, can you make me better? Can you make me better? That's it. you can't make me better. Give me a new coach. That's what you. So the NFL, they need to do this fast to make their money, and it's their job. They need a guy that can make them better. The heck with Christmas gifts and all that crap. So that's yeah, but that's kind of we at the Texans. I'll tell you the other. I just a couple of the guys. I mean, there's always legends, but it's different. You walk on and we were really good. So I guess, but I think it's all teams now. There's always 2 or 3 or 4 legends, maybe a Hall of Famer on the team. Like we had just, I think it was J.J. Watt's 3rd year, and Andre Johnson, he's got to be. I just saw him on TV and I thought he was a stud when he fought that Tennessee guy, and all that stuff. But Andre Johnson, he's one of my favorite guys of all time, and I didn't even coach him. I remember he was in practice. And, a lot of these things happen, but this is a Hall of Famer. He's getting ready to end of his career kind of thing. And he's got maybe 2 years left to play. And so he's out. First of all, he's first out to every practice, every meeting. He's the last one off the field. He goes, we're going 7-on-7. They throw him a dig. Schaub throws him a dig and it hits his finger wrong. And he comes off, he's doing this. He's tough. So he's not bitching too much, but he's shaking his hand with it. And right then we're like, shit, this is legit. It's got to be an injury. Check him out. It was a compound fracture. His bone was sticking out of his finger. So he's going. They're going, hey, we got to take you back to the deal. And we had a big game that week. I can't remember. It must have been AFC West. So, anyway, he tells him just to tape it up, and he goes back into 7-on-7. He goes with a compound fracture. I said,
what a dog.
Are you kidding me? Dude, you've been playing for 15 years.
And dog.
J.J. Watt's the same way. He hyperextended his shoulder, I think, one day in practice, and the thing popped back in. You could tell he was back in practice. He didn't go in. He was back in. It's like a Tuesday or Wednesday. He rolled back into practice. Just tape that shit up. Let's go. I mean, those guys don't always take days off. J.J. Watt, he told all our guys, he goes, because at one time we had some guys that wanted to sit out in preseason. And, some of those older guys have been around for a while. I think Ed Reed maybe, who was one of my favorites of all time player-wise. But he'd been around for a long time, so he's seen a lot of preseasons. But he'd say, hey, you guys don't need to go all the way through preseason. J.J. Watt's like, you sons of bitches are playing. You're supposed to go the first half. You go the first half. Got that. So J.J. Watt, he wasn't taking none of that crap. No.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I feel like I remember, I watched. I'm trying to think. He used to regularly come on the McAfee show, and we used to watch that. Always have that up in the office the last few years or whatever around lunchtime. And I feel like I remember him specifically talking about the whole preseason and the work that goes into and calling veterans out whenever it came to those guys trying to sit time out and what that meant to him is this is our preparation for the season. And how do I know you were doing your own thing on your own before we got here together? This is your time to show it to your teammates, blah, 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 all that. So I was like, damn, that is really cool to hear him say that.
He did it. He did that, and he lived it. And he would get – and the other thing that was unbelievable about him is you'd go in, we'd walk across, we'd go in the locker room, and after everybody's out of the locker room stuff and you'd coach – I'd jump down and try to get a quick swim in before the meetings just to get me a workout, just to get loose, to let some steam out. And then I'd jump out. So I was one of the last coaches out before the night meetings. J.J. Watt and his mom, I don't know, it must have been 2 times a week. It wasn't every day. They're in the locker room, these tables, packing this damn food for the kids or whatever. They're just hundreds of bags of food they're getting ready to take. His mom was always in there with him, and they're packing stuff to give to people. Yeah, man.
I remember the big flood that happened down there, and he gave a bunch of money to disaster relief and all that stuff. He was a great humanitarian. I think that was even after he quit playing for the Texans.
I think so. Yeah, no doubt.
He's into that. I mean,
he's very humble. Very humble guy. I mean, he's you bring a buddy in there. Some of those guys, it's hard to. You bring a buddy in there and he wants an autograph or something. JJ, no big deal. He's great.
That's really cool.
we had a good. It was fun. We had just the day I got there, we had just traded D'Amico Ryans to Philly, and I didn't even really know who D'Amico was, but half the the defensive guys are pissed, so they're like, what the hell do we do? And then of course now he's back making them into winners again. But I guess D'Amico was a stud, but I didn't get to know him because
Well, and you also had on that staff too. You also had Vance Joseph, who was coaching the secondary as well too.
Yep.
So that was he had a couple of good guys right there on that staff that was really good, and even the former or the future head coach was part of that franchise. So that was pretty cool.
VJ is a great coach. I mean, you knew he was going to be a coordinator, Vance, sooner or later. And of course, he's got his head coach's deals. I mean, he's a great coordinator. He's a great D coordinator. I mean, we had Wade Phillips as our DC, Rick Dennison, God dang it, Larry Kirks, he was our receiver coach who coached Jerry Rice, and he coached like 3 Hall of Famers, and he was a stud. And then, of course, obviously Gary Kubiak, the head coach, he was all time. Next to Sonny Lubick, I mean, as far as a person that knows your families and knows that has no problem meeting guys and having functions and stuff. He was really good. He was really good.
Man, that's what's really crazy that's going through my head while you're saying this is you just listed off all these guys. So you listed Andre Johnson and his toughness and I would assume that the leadership that goes along with that.
Yeah.
You talk about J.J. Watt, and then you list the coaches that go off along with that. And you said you guys made it to the semi. So are you saying when you were there, the farthest y'all made it was the conference championship game?
Yep. I was only there 2 years. 2012 was their best year. Obviously, it was our best year, but we lost, I think, to the Patriots in the second. It was in the second or third round, maybe. Anyway, the next year, if you remember right, I don't know if you remember, was we went shob through we started out with some bad games, and we ended up getting fired at the end of the season, at the end of the 2013 season because of I think we threw a bunch of pick sixes the first few games, and then the team kind of lost a little bit of – you know how it goes. Lost a little bit of confidence, and then, we lost 4 or 5 in a row. I remember Case Keenum had to roll in and end up starting quarterback. Wow. Starting quarterback about halfway through, and by then it was kind of over because they were supposed to win. We went that season supposed to win the Super Bowl. So all of a sudden, So
it's a little different in the NFL. You don't have that leeway sometimes that you do in some of the college staffs.
No,
they want, if it goes downhill, they're asking questions and they pull the trigger pretty quick.
For sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Starting to get that way in college now too.
Yeah, it is. Especially now that you got payrolls.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, one more story on Andre Johnson. One of my favorites. I tell my players all the time. I said we drafted D-Hop from Clemson in the first round. And I remember, everybody's fired up, D-Hop's going to tear it up. And so he rolls in. It's the first team meeting after the draft. And D-Hop rolls in like 20 seconds late to the meeting. And Coobs is already talking in the team meeting. And Coobs just stops and looks. And Andre Johnson's in the front row, stands up, and he goes, Coach, I got it. Put his hand up. Coobs just goes like that. Andre grabs D-Hop. They're gone for about half an hour. Coobs keeps on with the meeting. They come back in. D-Hop he's early to everything from then on. Andre Johnson said, taught him how to be a pro somewhere out. I don't know what he did. He went out in the hallway.
30 minutes.
They figured it out.
I don't know. But all of a sudden, DeAndre Hopkins is one of the greatest of all time. But he wasn't that day when he rolled in, that's for sure.
That's really cool. And so just hearing you talk about all these guys and the coaches you had in there, my whole point was I was like, man, it just shows you how hard it is to win.
Yes.
And like in the NFL, there's 32 teams, and it's 32 teams of the best talent on the field in between the white lines. Yeah. But it's also those guys that are just outside the white lines that are organizing everything, obviously calling the plays, going through practice on a day-to-day. And you made a comment earlier of in the NFL, it's the coaches what can that coach do for me? How is he going to make me better?
Yes.
And I've heard that for a long time, ever since I got into the college game, from some of the best coaches that I've been around. And it really is a difference in that aspect. And it's crazy that people don't realize that. And people just don't, like, how hard it is to truly, truly win it's a hard concept to grasp, but it's unbelievable. So to hear the long list you just said of all those names, coaches, players, everybody, and to hear that was the farthest y'all made it was the semis, which in the NFL, damn, that's hard. Holy shit, that's hard. And obviously now in college football,
playing the Patriots, who was
playing the Patriots,
on some of their runs
and
stuff like that.
It goes to show you, and that's what college is now too. And it's the same thing at, honestly, whatever level you're at. And so it doesn't matter if you're at high school, if you're at college, or you're the NFL, the preparation that goes into it. Yeah, you need talent, but you got to make sure that talent is maximizing everything they can. There's so many things, even just obviously the X's and O's, but the team camaraderie aspect and the leaders and all that kind of stuff, man, it's a lot. So like all that stuff, as you were saying all that, I'm like, man, this whole thing is going through my head, and it's so hard because then you play the Patriots and you're playing the absolute GOAT at quarterback, right? And it's
I know.
Well, and you talk about the year after that, you guys said that there was a standard that had already been established from that 12-4 year and everything like that. And then you turn around and you lose a handful of games and you're out the door.
And you're done.
It is a standard that is set. And so many of these programs and so many of these even colleges and NFL franchises, there's a standard that needs to be set and upheld. And if you don't do that, whether you're a player or coach, you're not there,
Yeah, you're out. Yeah, especially when you get to that expectation level,
For sure.
And we were, rightly so. We were supposed to be the Super Bowl, contenders, like, but that, like Glitz says, that's very hard. There's probably 5 or 6, 10 teams that have a legit shot. But ours came down to a quarterback situation. I mean, I think once Schaub threw a few pick sixes, man, I think he was getting like signs in his yard and stuff at his house, and one of those deals, like, oh, there's some pressure in that, quarterback position for sure.
There is.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you guys leave, you guys get fired at Houston. Now you go back to the college ranks. I know you were at University of Houston for 1 year as running backs coach, and then you come to Oklahoma State in 2015, and then you have the run until you do now. Talk about that transition back to college and then your years at Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Really the only reason I stayed at the college level is because of my kids. I really wanted to stay in the NFL level because once you get there, it's hard. It's hard to, if you leave, it's hard to get back in. They all say that. Once you get there, you got to stick. And even Coobs told me that, when it all went down, he says, you got to hang in the NFL, whatever you got to do. But I was a single dad with two kids, and my daughter just she was getting ready to go to college, and my son was, I think, a freshman in high school, maybe. Yeah. So I'm thinking I got to stay somewhere around here is what I wanted to keep him in high school. So it was crazy, another one of these wacky coaching deals, but when I left Rice to go to Wyoming, I rented my house out to Tony Levine, and he was the special teams coach at University of Houston. We all lived in the same neighborhood down in Sienna Plantation, both staffs. So we'd all have, dinners and stuff too. It was fun. It was a fun year. Anyway, Tony's renting my house. Well, he happens to be the head coach at University of Houston, and he's renting my house. So I called him like the night we got fired at the Texans. I said, Tony, you wouldn't happen to have a job? And I kind of laughed. And he laughed with me. And then he said, you know what? Our running back coach just happened to leave. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, why don't you come down here Monday? And so I rolled down there, and he had a job. And so he gave me the job, and that's crazy. No, I never got a job that easy in my life. But isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
he goes, as long as you don't raise my rent, he says, as long as you don't raise my rent, I got the running back job. I said, you're good. And
he said, I'll cut it in half.
I know, I cut that. Just give me the job. And so, but the best thing was I didn't have to move my family. I didn't have to move my kids.
Yeah,
so they got to finish. a little bit. I at least went another year. My daughter got to finish, and she got off to Grand Canyon University, and she loved it and all that. So that was a good thing. But it got me back in the college ranks, and then craziest thing ever is Tony got fired like his second year. We actually went to a bowl game and beat Pitt in the Fort Worth Bowl, but he still got fired. But sometimes that just happens. That's crazy. I don't understand. Sometimes
football for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they had great expectations there. And he was a great guy. I don't know, but again, same deal. I met some good guys on that staff. I mean, it's same old deal. David Gibbs is on that staff, who I love. He's a stud. And Spavital, your guy, the old Oklahoma, Jay. He was on it. But so we got, and then we get fired there, and I called Glenn Spencer because Ted Roof, Glenn and I knew each other because he was Ted Roof's roommate in college. Yeah. And Ted Roof and I were together at Duke and became real good friends. So Ted called Glenn for me, and the job was Van Malone had just left Glids. Remember, he went to SMU.
Yeah. And
I was like, well, whatever, I may have a shot. So anyway, I walked in, and Gundy was awesome. He's like, we got a job for you. It wasn't a big interview or anything. I said, I'm good. Let's go. So got to keep, and stayed in the region, and obviously made a huge move up at that time. So,
then it was what, 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. 10 years. Awesome. It was
10 years at Oklahoma State. So that was 2015, your first season. I mentioned this obviously super early in the podcast, that your first year there, and that was actually my last year there as a player.
Yeah.
And man, it was a fun season, right? Just found a way to start the season off 10-0, and then obviously it didn't end the way we wanted, but I think it was one of those things as a team. You might be able to touch on this. That team really wasn't the most talented. There was talented guys, but between the mix of the veterans that kind of had a leadership aspect to the younger guys on the team that were pretty talented, we were trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
But there was a team camaraderie, I think, and to everything we talked about earlier of like, you have great coaches, there's talent, and all the things go along with it, but it takes an extra level of, like I just said, the team camaraderie, if you will, that takes the start. So for us to start that year 10-0, and when I look back, I'm like, I don't know if that team was really all that great. We should have done that as much. But, your first year in Oklahoma State started like that, and it was fun. And a lot of credit to those guys that made things happen, including yourself as a coach on that staff. And obviously that was a great staff that hung around there for a long time and did a lot of great things. So, those following years for yourself, like what – couple highlights for us, anything that really stood out to you from things you learned as a coach to what the time in Stillwater meant from your family or anything like that? Because that stint that you were involved in Stillwater was rare from the coaching side of it, and how long that staff stayed together.
Oh yeah. It was as you tell up here behind me, it was Oklahoma State helmet and my Colorado State helmet over here. To me, those 10 years were awesome. I had however they ended up. I mean, in coaching, 3/4 of your jobs end up, you get fired or whatever for some reason, but or things happen. But I thought, Coach did such a great job of bringing in guys with experience and everybody blending, and like you said, he went from the coaches to the players. But I think, I'm sure you believe in this too, the old Belichick deal, and the players, they take care of their own issues. If you have coaches always disciplining the players, that's what I loved a lot about when I first got there. I worked for every coach I worked for is, like I said, I can't say there's a guy that I on that list that wasn't a great head coach and a good person and all that. I didn't work for any jerks, but coach was always into, let's let the, players take care of this. I want the players pulling the guys off if there's a fight. I want the players leading this. I want the players fixing the locker room situation. I don't want the coaches, like he'd take I thought one of the best things we did was if a guy misses class or whatever, and the discipline deal. Rob Glass might not like this, but we let Rob Glass get him on the Stairmaster. And so the coach doesn't look, because you got to go jump his ass if he's getting lazy in practice, or he doesn't do the right route, or he screws up coverage. You're on those guys all the time. Try to, for perfection. You don't need to be wearing them out on the Stairmaster for, when they miss a class. I remember Jordan Stearns, one of my favorites of all time, probably one of the toughest guys I've ever coached. He's a stud, but stud. I mean, we had some studs at Oklahoma. I mean, I was lucky. I got to coach a bunch of guys but I remember Stearns, just a classic, back in the day when you check classes, nowadays, I don't know if they do that stuff anymore, but Stearns just peeked in one morning about 8:30. Coach, I missed class. I'm going to get my Stairmaster.
Self-accountability.
There was no lying to it. There was no excuse. There was no bullshit. I mean, Stearns was like, I love that about Stearns. He'd do the same thing. He'd do a coverage.
Hey, did Glid ever have to do any self-accountability, or did he ever have to
sure
get on the old
Come on,
Stairmaster a little bit?
Fess up,
class.
It wasn't for a drop ball.
One time. Okay. All right.
One time. No, we won't talk about the drop balls, because there's many of those that you yourself and people don't like to, like, they say I didn't know. I had plenty. Trust me. Bedlam people probably remember, but I did. I had one time. I did. It's crazy, Hammer, because I did exactly what you just said. It was a summer workout, and whatever might have transpired, we won't talk about that. For me to be late,
right?
I was late. It was like the last week of summer workouts, and I think I was, I don't know, 3-4 minutes late to that summer workout. But it wasn't a workout. It was like one of those 7-on-7 mornings, light lift, and then you're out. I didn't even go to it. I think literally I didn't go to the 7-on-7 the next morning, or when they all came in, I was already in the Stairmaster, or I was already in the weight room on the Stairmaster. So to George Stern's point of what you just said, same thing.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. But I mean, player wise, I think just going back to that, I think that's why we won so many games. And I know we should have won some conference titles, we whatever, but that's why we were always good, is because Coach Gundy knew how to develop the leadership, bring coaches in that understood that and were experienced and were not freaking out on all that. And everybody kind of understood, but player wise, it was awesome. I mean, it's not like we didn't get a ton of 5-stars. That's why I liked it, because it was similar to Colorado State.
A ton or any?
Any. Yeah, right.
None.
Any. Right, exactly. But it's just like Colorado State at a different level. Obviously, Colorado State's lower level, but it was the same deal. We got kids and developed them, and they grew up and loved it. And they loved the Oklahoma State thing, and everybody felt, the cowboy culture and all that, and it was real. But it was about developing, like Trey Flowers. I mean, Flowers, when he graduated after Rob got a hold of him and got him up to whatever, 6'5" and 220 or something crazy, he was still playing. He's close. He just stopped playing maybe. But at first, he was just a tall, skinny guy. I remember we had to get him. The biggest thing, my first few weeks there, was to stop the palms up deal. I remember having the talk with Trey. But that's not us, man. We don't go palms up when something goes wrong. I don't want to see palms up anymore. Okay, Coach. Okay. I mean, it took him a while. I remember at West Virginia one year, he did the palms up. He comes aside. You can see him put him down real quick because he remembered. But he ended up being unbelievable. And what he wrote. Shoot, Ramon Richards. I mean, those guys just turned into. Obviously, I think the best one I ever coached was Harville P. and Colby. Obviously, he's just a great football player. He just was a natural. And it was funny because we almost didn't recruit him because he was outside backer, receiver, slot, whatever. And he didn't fit the mold. And we thought, but we took him, and all of a sudden he's just a natural ball player. He just knew how to play, just knew how to see things, and just one of those guys you can't coach some of that stuff.
For sure.
He was fun.
Imperfect recruiting, right? Imperfect science.
Yeah, totally.
Imperfect science. Educated guesses.
Yeah, I mean, look at all those guys. Look at Mendoza from Indiana this year. Really, goes from Miami to Cal. Nobody knows about. He's a backup. I mean, well, he's the first pick of the draft. There's a million of those stories.
Yeah.
But I thought we did a great job of getting the best 2 and 3 star. We picked good mental guys. I don't know. Tough.
Yeah. So here's a question. Here's a question for you, Coach, and this may be hard to answer because there were so many good teams and so many good years you had at Oklahoma State. But if you had to pick your favorite year, which year would it be at Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I like the early years because I love Stearns and all those guys. They're tough, and it was my first school at that level. So I've been at a whole lot of schools, colleges at least, a little lower. So I was fired up early, and we had some pretty good teams, like Glid said. For us on defense, 21, because of the Knowles. We all just learned so much football, and not only that, I think Knowles learned a lot of football because he figured out the Big 12. It was just a fun process from the time Knowles got there to the time we were number 2 in the country in defense, which is nuts. And all those kids stayed, and they, all became seniors kind of at the same time. But Knowles learned a lot too about the Big 12, and we morphed that damn defense into, that soft shell, and we did a lot with the defense. It wasn't Jim's defense that he rolled in with, and we tried that, and it wasn't working. But he was smart enough and great enough coach to figure out, and with all of our help, everybody threw in their 2 cents on everything. That was the most, as far as a staff, everybody taking a piece and throwing ideas and things those 3 years, and then us getting it right in 2021. And then obviously having the Rodriguez's and the Peels and all those guys still there, Brock and all those guys, that was a great crew. But it's not like we had a bunch of NFL superstars. It's just they learned the defense. It was hard, but those kids stuck with it. It takes 2 years to learn the defense, and then boom, you get in it, and you reap the rewards. And that was almost 2021 was awesome.
I've actually got a great story about you. You mentioned Brock Martin, the head coach that I worked for at Siloam Springs in Arkansas, coached him at Oologah and was his head coach at Oologah. And so we got to go up and see a couple games that year that you guys did your thing, and that was, even as an Oklahoma fan and as a Sooner, it's just and as a coach, it was fun to see that kind of level of defense and the way that you guys kind of transformed that year and seeing some of that. But that was cool to have that little bit of a connection where the guy that I worked for coached a guy like that. So in high school, so
for sure, and especially from a place like that.
I know.
I mean, you mentioned Siloam Springs. That's not the biggest level of ball in Arkansas, and obviously Oologah in Oklahoma is not. And that's to the point that Hammer was making earlier with the 2 and 3 stars. It's just it was something about the system that kind of had its way of, and Coach Gundy was in charge, but the Rob Glass system that was, I think. I mean, I've never heard Coach Gundy talk so highly about a human being in his life, probably in those times that he talks about Coach Glass, and it was so rare to actually hear him say that because they worked together for so long, but the credit whenever he does speak about it that he gives to him for taking guys like that from small town Oklahoma, small town Texas. I mean, Casey Dunn going to Sanford, Texas, and getting James Washington, guys like that, the 2 stars of the world. Hell, Justin Blackman was a 2-star. So just that system and the way it worked, to your point, Hammer, it was impressive, man, for the run that it was.
Malcolm Rodriguez. Classic.
Oh, Malcolm Wagner.
I remember Malcolm. We're like, hey, he's going to play safety, and we all looked at each other, and we're like, I mean, he's a championship wrestler. Anytime anybody said they're a championship wrestler, that was the beauty of our staff. Everybody'd be like, I'm in. the whole staff. Let's go. We'd take 500 wrestlers if we could.
It's a credit to some of these high school coaches that are around the country. Like, for example, Dale Condon at Wagner at the time, building those kind of programs and stuff like that in some of these smaller schools. And yes, you see these big programs like Bixby and Owasso and all these Jinx, and they get the credit they deserve because but some of these younger, smaller schools, they can produce some really good talent. And
dang right.
A lot of them turn out to be, really good players in the NFL and stuff like that too. So you guys did a great job of finding that talent, developing it, and molding it into what you guys, wanted to do. So
and the system that it was, Drew, literally everything you just said. And to your point, Hammer, I heard this. I wasn't there with Coach Knowles. I was not there as a player or as a coach. But the system that I've heard about, and that when he first got there, you said this yourself, but I heard this from other people. It was when he first got there, it was not the second ranked defense in the country.
No.
And it evolved, but it also evolved with the guys that we're talking about. And so there's, in my opinion, there's still, like, you just look at Indiana this year, for example. Yeah, it was year 2 for Signetti or whatever it was, but a lot of those guys came with them. They knew the system and they were bought into doing something bigger than themselves. And that's the same thing that happened that year under you all and Coach Knowles and having a second-rate defense in the country. It was a group of guys, maybe not the most talented, but they understand what everybody is trying to accomplish together. The system for sure, as far as the X's and O's, but then the system in itself as far as – and we need player leadership. Yeah. And that was Coach Gundy's point of the whole thing. And so all of that just stacking upon one another. I still think, especially in high school, like there's still places for that for sure. But I do still think there's a place for that in college football to an extent. It's just, when those times are going to happen, how you can manage the money aspect of it and the whole thing is hard to find. But man, it's special when it does happen.
I heard this from a coach. I heard this from a coach a long time ago, and it really kind of stuck with me. If I can get the guy with the right attitude, I can teach him the technique, or I can teach him, the scheme, or I can teach him anything. But you got to have the right guy with the right mindset to come in and say, hey, this is the role. This is what we need you to do. And we can teach you the rest,
Yeah. Well, that just shows you, like Glenn said, that shows you how hard it is to win. All that stuff's got to come together. Your coach has got to, can't take things personal. Blah, blah. It's got to go to the players. Players can't just be hating their coach. It's just it's all got to come together. It is hard to win, at least consistently. That's for sure.
That is for sure. Well, here's what I got, man. One of the last questions I got for you. We're over an hour now, so we'll let you go soon, man. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it.
I love it. I appreciate you guys having me.
Well, I gotta ask you one more, because we got some younger coaches and coaches that listen to us that they try to take any nugget. And me, myself, I want to know this just for myself moving forward. If you could put something into very short words for us here, one of the most unique things I think about your career is the fact that you coach both sides. And I think that's so impressive. It's super impressive. And I've heard from everybody since the beginning of my coaching days of how much that really helps you, whatever side you are coaching at the moment. When you can understand the other side of the ball, how much it's going to help you on the current side you're on and in general in your knowledge of the game of football. So for yourself, something as far as I think you would probably recommend most coaches when they get a chance to coach on both sides do so. And when it comes to that, give me one or two little pieces of advice, one or two nuggets you would tell them as far as maybe they're nervous to go to the other side, or when they do go to the other side of what they're on, like, how do they approach that? What does that look like for somebody?
Yeah, I definitely don't be nervous, because if if you know ball on one side, you know it on the other. So that's other than the only thing, I'd say is O-line. It takes a little, I've never coached the O-line, but I know I've been a coordinator on offense. So, and luckily I had good O-line coaches, but I've coached every other, all the positions. What I would say, I think the best, like when I went from defensive backs, and I went to receivers, then I ended up being the coordinator coaching quarterbacks for the first time. And I had Bradley Van Pelt, who was the 2-time Mountain West Player of the Year, best athlete in maybe the country at that time. He was one of them. He was a beast. His dad was the old Giants linebacker, Hall of Famer, Brad Van Pelt. But Bradley was, anyhow, he was an athlete. He was an unbelievable athlete, average thrower kind of guy. And I was obviously an average quarterback coach at that time. So I was trying to figure things out too. And we were trying to win games. So all I know is I got the best athlete in the conference. I wanted to find out what he can throw. Like, what can Bradley? And he threw a good deep ball. And then he could flip a hitch out there. And then we taught him how to throw skinnies and read just the one high read off the safety and go 4-step skinnies and skinny post deal for anybody that's not watching. Yeah. But it looks like a deeper slant. And we taught him how to do that in the offseason. That was pretty simple stuff. He could check some stuff down and throw screens, but that was kind of, don't mess with corner routes. Digs were dangerous.
Not the 22 at 2, none of that stuff.
22 and 2, yeah. I hate that thing going to the corner's hands quick. So, all of a sudden, I looked at my buddy, the O-line guy, John Benton. He was with me, and he's saying, "This guy's the best runner in the conference. Why don't we just tell him to look at a couple receivers, and then if he doesn't like it, take off running?" And I thought, damn, what a great idea. I said, so we got him some half field reads. And I just told him, I said, Bradley, if you don't like that, you don't go 1-2 check down to either side, and let's just roll and just take off. Yeah. And he was conference player of the year 2 years in a row. And he didn't throw great, but he didn't throw a lot of interceptions. Matter of fact, he broke the that many games without an interception rule. But he didn't, he only threw, 18, 20 times a game, whatever. So that didn't make him happy. I want to throw. And he comes back, matter of fact, he came back this year to the Hall of Fame game or something, and he was getting inducted. They put his name up with Sonny's name up on the stadium this year. And he sees me in pregame. He comes over and we're talking, and he goes, he starts talking to people. He's kind of crazy. He starts talking to people and goes, if Coach Hammer would have coached me up how to throw, I'd have made it in the NFL. He said, and I said, Bradley, we did what we thought you could do, and guess what? Look at that name up on the side of that stadium.
That's right.
He goes, damn, you're right. He said, So I would tell him to the same as in the secondary, like Jordan Stearns can't cover a slot. That sucker could play ball and knock the hell out of anybody. So we didn't make him cover slots. Somehow you so you got to jimmy your things up for what your players can do. That is, don't do stuff your players can't do, and that's why some of those simple offenses are simple, because a lot of players can do that. Start getting a little more complicated, a little more route. So you got to have a thinker. Anyway, sometimes you got amazing teams and players. You can do a lot of stuff, but that was one thing we were good at Colorado State when we were good, is we just did what our guys could do. We didn't
love it.
What are they good at? What can they do? Let's not try to make them do. And I think that's what Indiana got away with this year. They were fairly simple, and they did things. They found out what their guys were good at. And so the same, I'll tell you a classic example is Jim Knowles, when we were trying to figure out what to do with Colin and Brock Martin. Remember the little Leos glids? They're small, and we were a 4-down team. So they're kind of small. We're like, damn. And Coach Gundy wanted to run 3 down. So Knowles didn't want to have any of the 3-2 stuff. We didn't know it. We didn't want to do it. So we said, God dang, it's Joe Bob's idea. He said, these guys are little. Why don't we but they're great players. Let's jump them up, slide to a 3 down. Let's jump that guy up and start bouncing him around. Just give him a couple words so the front guys know to go left or right, which sounds easy. And just have Colin and Brock just go, Rex and Louie, and they jump all over the place and screw up the offense. And now all of a sudden you got those little guys coming free because they don't know where they're going to end up. And that was the beauty of our offense for a couple of years. Nobody could block them. They were coming off the edge. They sacked everybody. And it was Joe Bob's idea. It was still a 4 down, but we made it look like a 3 down. Just stuff that your players can do.
And it's stuff that you're going to have to make adjustments, like me being an offensive coach, just thinking about that, because I've had to deal with some of that, because that was, when I first started really getting into coaching was that time of it. And that was some of the stuff that we had to start looking at, because now high school teams started doing that a little bit too. And so we were like, all right, so we're going to treat this as a 4 down. If that guy's over there, our rules are a little bit different. And so we had to teach our O-line, and you had to adjust things and call things out. So that was kind of an involvement into, you started seeing other teams do it. And then it also trickled down into the high school stuff, to where now us as offensive coordinators and us as offensive coaches had to start identifying that and figuring out, well, what the heck is this guy doing? Like, is he a linebacker? Is he a guy? So no, let's just quit doing it. We're just going to count him as a 4 down guy out there, and just our rules or whatever. If he's outside of you, then we got to kick him, or we got to whatever, that. And so that's good stuff right there.
And for the defense, it was easy for us. I think just talking to Charlie Dickey and those guys, it was hard for them. They used to go, oh, dang, we don't know where he's going. And they were good players. Yeah, so they were great players, and they're real athletic. So it kind of used and if they're halfway smart and athletic, boom. But for us, it was a piece of cake. We just called, everybody knew where they were going. It was fun. But.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So for me, I just learned a lot just taking it from there. Literally, and when I think back this whole thing, what you just said is it doesn't matter what side of the ball you're on. Who are your players and what can they do? Right.
What can they do?
And then keep it simple and let them play fast. That's a big aspect of it. And, so, and hearing you say all the things you did, Hammer, was phenomenal, man. Talking about just, for one, coaching in itself is a network. Right.
No,
it's a network, like as far as how your jobs are, and let the good Lord work a little bit, and then, man, just stay in it and keep going. And things are going to happen. That's what the game of football is in general. Like literally, like there was one point in this, you were talking about your career and this aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
You literally just experienced in your career a game of football. And like, what is your response to it? Because there's ups and downs throughout the whole thing. So we can all learn from that, man. And no matter what you do, you just keep chucking, keep chucking, keep going, just keep working, man.
Yeah, the Tony Levine story was in my when I called him up. He'd been renting my house for 2 years. I was like, wow, this is nuts.
No doubt. Everybody make that call. You never know.
Exactly.
You never know. Make that call.
Exactly.
Make that call. Well, that's phenomenal, man, from all that stuff. And just hearing everything about it that you dropped on us today, man, was awesome. This was a blast. Awesome to have you on, man. I appreciate you, man. And hopefully we can get together soon, get back out there and swing the sticks. That would be, I know you can kick my ass again. You say I take your money, but I know it's not true.
I still owe you a bunch of beer. I know that.
Sounds like a good time.
Drew, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I know we've gone over a little bit of hour, but Coach, thanks again from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for the time and everything like that. And you're always if anytime you're in Oklahoma, hit us up. We'd love to go join you on the golf course, hang out.
Come on.
Do that.
Sounds good.
Get some more nuggets, and pick your brain about some stuff.
I'm sure I got a bunch of stories still I couldn't think of.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. But for us here at the Huddle Up, our sponsors, Coop Paint, Striping, and Sealing, and the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, we are the Huddle Up Podcast. Check us out on the next episode. Please like, follow, subscribe, help us grow. And we'll see you on the next episode. And what's our new slogan, Glid? We're just trying to keep Bedlam alive.
We're just keeping Bedlam alive, man.
Yeah, Bedlam alive. So,
keep Bedlam alive.
There it is.
See you guys.
I can't believe Hammer wore a red shirt. God,
hey, that's all right. I love it.
It's not red. It's not red. It can't be.
Hey, he's just trying to help us out, man. Trying to keep us.
He was trying to make you happy, Drew.
University of Houston. That's what I got.
There you go. There you go. Cougars. There you go. Guys, we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining the Huddle Up.